Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Vanessa Roth here again, and today's session is all about how do we engage passive talent. Now, this is something that's really become a thing in our industry at the moment. Previously when I started in this industry, it was quite easy because you would generally be finding people who are on the market already. So you would get, the job description coming in from your client into your email. You could go into a local job board. You could find the candidates. You could bring them in for an interview. You could conduct your interviews, normally 4 or 5, send the successful candidates off to the client, who would also then interview, and then hopefully you'd make a placement. Now, those were the days when there were a lot more candidates who were on the market. At the moment, we're having to find the candidates, which is also a challenge within itself. But then we have to send them a message that is going to persuade them to often leave a job that they're really happy in order to pursue something new. So our roles just got a whole lot more difficult because it's all about how do we engage passive talent, how do we get them to respond to our emails or our in-mails, and how do we get them to leave a job that they're potentially quite relaxed in, they're quite chilled, they're very loyal, to go and work for your client. So let's have a look and learn more in this session. So the first thing that we need to realize is that the landscape of talent acquisition has changed. So previously, where we could post an ad, we could wait for the applications to come in. These days are nearly over. So this is always a contentious issue when I do my training, because a lot of people say the only reason we advertise for jobs is to look good for the marketing team. Now, as we all know, sometimes when we put jobs out there, the response is massive. And it can really take us a long time to go through all of those CVs to find maybe we only end up with a handful of really suitable applicants. So that approach has been known as the spray and pray approach for a while. So instead of advertising, my advice is to always use that time and to go and directly source passive talent. So this should be our focus. So capturing the attention of passive talent is something that we should all be focusing on as talent acquisition professionals and recruiters. Because isn't it so much easier when candidates are knocking on our door and saying to us, hey, I've heard excellent things about you. Would you like to represent me? Can I partner with you? It's time for a change. So basically, we need to start thinking more like community leaders. Where are our networks? Where are our communities? How are we nurturing them? And how are we keeping them engaged with us? These are really important things in our industry these days. So there's only 2 metrics that we really are interested in when we actually reach out to candidates. And when we reach out to candidates, it's generally going to be in an email, because when we use Chrome extensions to find contact details for people, it normally brings up email addresses. And that is because people sign up to these platforms using their email addresses and not necessarily using their phone numbers. So we could actually be reaching out to people using an in-mail, an email, a WhatsApp, a Signal message, a Telegram message, whatever it might be. But all that we're interested in and what we should be measuring is, will they open the message that we have sent to them, and will they respond to the message? These are 2 really important metrics. Now, recruiters, we're already starting on the back foot. So let's get the bad news out the way, because recruiters don't always have a good reputation. The industry has a very low barrier to entry, and that has often worked towards us being lumped in with the second-hand car salesmen, the estate agents, and things like that. So recruiters aren't always trusted. And we just need to realize this. And what I really encourage you to do is to over-communicate. If you are over-communicating with your candidates, you're keeping them updated, they know what's happening every step of the process, and there's no excuse for them to turn around and say, actually, you didn't do the right thing. Now, a big reason why recruiters have a bad reputation is because of this whole ghosting thing. So I just want to highlight it. I know that candidates also ghost recruiters. It's a 2-way street. However, everyone thinks that recruiters just don't get back to candidates. So if you are over communicating, this isn't going to happen. There will be no ghosting happening here. Also, what we need to do is we need to get our clients and hiring managers on board. Because seriously, Here we are, it's 2023, and now the candidates are interviewing the clients and the people that are the hiring managers in the interview who potentially will be their manager one day, as much as the company is interviewing the candidates. So we've got to make sure that us as recruiters, we don't go out there, we headhunt the best passive talent, we seduce them, we woo them, we do everything that we need to do. And then when the hiring manager meets with them, their first question is, so why do you want to work for us? And the candidate often then sits back and says, well, I don't really want to, I was headhunted. So this is really something that you've got to work hard with your hiring managers and your clients, and educate them as to, how did this candidate, how did you find them? How did you start engaging with them? It's a really important aspect of what we do. Now, my best advice is to actually start your relationships with your candidates up front. This is being much more of a strategic business partner as opposed to reactional. So don't wait for the role description to come in. Rather, try and get a feel of where your client's going to be hiring for the next 6 to 12 months and start building a community or network of those candidates. So your first interaction with a candidate doesn't necessarily have to be about notifying them for a job listing of sorts. You could also reach out to candidates because you want to build a genuine relationship with them, find out exactly what makes them tick, what are they looking for, what do they want to learn about, what do they want to get better at, what are they passionate about when it comes to the work. Then when the role comes up from your client side, you've already engaged with the candidate, you've already had a conversation, you understand well what the candidate is trying to achieve, and you could make a match a lot quicker. And that is the joy of being a strategic business partner as opposed to being too reactional. So find out what are the pain points for your candidates. What do they not want to do? Is their office forcing them, their company forcing them back into the office, maybe 5 times a week, or 4 days a week, or whatever it might be? Do they not want to commute? Have they already left the area? Are they already living in the countryside? These are all things that you need to think about so that you can find the right opportunity for your candidates. So also what I want you to think about is that the number of emails that you are sending to your candidates when you're reaching out to passive talent. So what a lot of recruiters do is they think like recruiters. So they'll send one very long email, and then they'll have 1 or 2 follow-ups of, hey, did you get my first email? What did you think? Or else, hey, did you get my first email? Are you going to respond? And it almost comes across as that passive-aggressive thing. But if we think more like a marketer, and a marketer will drip feed information to candidates. So a marketer will say, here's your first message, here's your second message, here's your third message, and each message will contain different bits of information, either about the role, why it's a good move for the candidate, about the company, what are the benefits, and those kind of things. And that is why we should actually be focusing on sending more emails to our candidates and breaking up that very first, very long initial message that we are sending. So a couple of things to ask yourself, and these are going to give you the hooks for the role. So why would top talent, who aren't even looking for something new, consider your open position a better opportunity than what they are doing at the moment? And that is really important. So some of the hooks that you could be telling the candidates are things like, do they maybe have the ability to build a team from scratch in this situation? Something they could never achieve if they stayed in their current position. What about if they were to be able to have increased organizational impact? So they could have more of a say about the direction of the company and make more decisions that are more impactful. Or it could simply be, for the candidate, you are going to teach them a new skill which ultimately is going to make them more attractive in the market. So you have to sit with your client, your hiring manager, and you have to say, what are the hooks? What can I use here to bring candidates on board? So the other key thing when sending messages to candidates is personalization is key. And I always recommend that you have 2 points of personalization in your opening paragraph to candidates. So something about maybe their current job title, where they are working, something that they've recently studied, a recent certification or a qualification, because you want that person to sit up and say, actually, this isn't a templated message. It couldn't have been sent to 50 different people. It was written specifically for me. Also, you've got to think about what skills do they have that would make a great fit for the company, and how can you take those skills and grow them. Also, when you're talking about opportunities, it sounds better than a role or a position that is static, doesn't talk to growth within the organization. So talk about, we have an opportunity on our front-end development team. Not necessarily that you're looking for an intermediate front-end developer. It just has a different sound to it. And also to remember, we are writing to express ourselves, not impress others. So I always find it helps to read the emails out aloud. Does it sound like you? That's really important, because you don't want to be overly formal. And remember that that personalization is going to be the key that is going to ensure that you get a response from the person. Also, I just want to highlight something here, is that video is a great way to reach out to candidates. There are 3 different main ways that we can use video when it comes to recruiting. The first way is when a recruiter sends a video message to passive talent, telling them about the opportunity and selling them on this amazing new journey they could be heading off on. You could also have a video that is all about company culture. How can you showcase the company? A video does this so much better than typing it up in an email. And remember, recruiters can't always be trusted, so a video from the company can be trusted a little bit more. And another way that you can use video is to use video for social proof. So what do I mean by that? I mean using people who work at the organization who can say, hey, come and work with us. We're a fun team. This is what we do. We have learning Fridays that you can join in. Anything along those lines. So whoever is a brand ambassador for your client's organization, pull them in and get them to do some videos for you that you can use to share in your outreach messages to passive talent. So if you want to learn more, send me a message on any of these platforms. I'm happy to talk you through the rest of my training, which is developed and online. Also scan the QR code. That will also take you to any of my other links. And I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you enjoyed this session.